Good morning. Happy Thursday. Today is May 8th. It's been a week since we talked on May Day, and instead of bandana, this time I am featuring bedhead. Although I've been up for a while, I've already taken my medicine, I've already had breakfast, I've already done a few other things, but on Thursdays, at least for now, this is one of my priorities. So here we are again. Last week we talked about different ways that we could rise up and be supportive of our goals to not be oppressed, either ourselves or those who are more vulnerable than us. Today, I wanted to talk about ways that we can rise up in ways that make us all feel better. And I think that you might like this list. Right now, I don't have the ability to do text and stuff like that, but that'll come. It's going to be a little different every single week. Am I promising to do it every single week? Yes. I'm promising to do it every single week. Will that happen? That's what we're going to try and find out, right? So, welcome to Batmonkey Network, progress over protocol, all the time. So, one of the things that has been coming up is that we have this whole tariff thing happening, obviously. And before that, we had what some are calling inflation, but other people are calling, more accurately, greedflation. But the reality is, we're in a recession that's heading towards a depression. And anybody can argue with me if they want to about that, but I lived through the 70s and the 80s, and the early 90s. So, and 2008 and 2002. So you can't convince me. So let's just act as if that's really true. Regardless of what you want to define it as, we're all going to be going through some financial difficulties, no matter how well off we are. And if we're not well off, it's going to be even worse, right? So, isn't that great? Yeah. So, I think the number one thing that I would like to emphasize is now is not the time to give in to, oh, that's just how much things are now. In some cases, we are going to have to accept it because we can't do anything about it. But in other cases, we can do something about it. So, for example, do you enjoy hamburgers? You might enjoy hamburgers. I'll tell you two things about hamburgers. Number one, it has been proven a number of different ways that cows are a really hard hit on our climate, our environments. And it's also a really hard hit on our bodies. I'm not telling you not to eat meat. Some people are able to do that. Some people have a harder time. So think about reducing the amount that you have. You don't have to, just think about it. Think about, do I really need it this many times per week? Can I get by with fewer times? Or maybe every couple of weeks, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of other things out there that you can have that taste delicious. Have you considered bison? Make sure that you look into the sourcing on your bison. Otherwise, it's the same problem, but in a different place. But the other thing, and I think more important, that everyone can do if they eat literally anything, we'll keep going with our burger example, you don't have to go to a national chain. You don't have to go to the ones that have all of the big fancy logos and ad campaigns trying to convince you of what is going to be better with them or not. You can eat hyperlocal. There's so many wonderful burger places around you that are owned by local people using more local ingredients and feeding their local community and caring more about their local community. Now, I know some of y'all are saying, hey, there's a predominance of people who don't believe in resisting oppression for anybody who are owning these establishments. You're absolutely right. You should totally use whatever tools are in front of you, or that you can even look up to see whether or not the place that you are supporting is also supporting the right of yourself and others to exist. Oh, good, I've got trembles. Sorry about that. All right, so hyperlocal, maybe consider using less meat of any kind, really. But hyperlocal is really the point. Farmers markets. Your municipality might not have a proper meat seller like a butcher or one of those guys anymore, but look and see. Maybe you do. I'm fortunate to live in a place where most of the areas around us has at least one within a greater zip code that we can go to if we wanted to. But we also have many, many, many farmers markets. Maybe you don't have as many. That's okay. Just find the one near you, and then you'll be supporting people in your community. I'm going to say that in this case, it might not matter who they believe in supporting or not oppressing or whatever. I think in that case, it is a good idea to shop with them and be open about who you are. Wear your pins, your jackets, your colors, your face, whatever gives you away as being against oppression, whether for yourself or others. And just go shop with them and let them know that this is your choice, that you're not shopping nationally, you're shopping locally because that's the best way to support your community. Is that message going to get through? I don't know. But you can also choose to limit it just to people who don't oppress. That's great. You can do that. But some places do not have that freedom. They don't have that level of variety available to them. So, what would be the next thing that we could do? So we've talked about maybe reducing our meat footprint. Not everybody can do it. Totally understand. Everybody can look for more hyperlocal sources, unless you're in a food desert. And I can't talk about that right this second, because that's going to be a longer, more prepared conversation that we're going to have. Just as a group of people who, some of us know all about a food desert, and some of us know maybe tangentially about it, and some of us have no idea. So we're going to talk about that later. So if you live in one, or you are aware of people who live in one and they're having a hard time with those other things, let's just keep in mind that they're out there, and maybe you can be brainstorming ways that we can help out, and let me know. I would love to have your ideas and to tell other people about your ideas. That'd be great. But there's more we can do. So one of the other things that we can do is, in your area, right around you, there are places that are no longer protected by the guarantees of the federal government to use our taxes effectively to take care of those areas. I touched on this in our last conversation. Like maybe you have a national park near you, or maybe you have a public heritage site, or potentially you have a, did I say potentially? I did. Potentially, you maybe have another area that has, the only reason that it's clean is because it went through the EPA's big cleanups that happened starting back in, some of them started earlier, but there were a lot of them happening in the 80s, where places that had been really disgusting were suddenly made livable again. And as far as we knew, I mean, some still have toxins and stuff like that, but we'll worry about that later. Protect them, visit them, be present there. Take big groups, have parties. Go en masse to enjoy these things, or individually, or have everybody show up to do their own little separate picnics or whatever, if that's the kind of place that it is. Think about your museums. Think about your libraries. Think about the places that aren't getting money anymore. Think about your galleries that hold art by people who were receiving grant money to do their art. Go to those places. Hang out at them. Visit the people. Maybe you don't have the money to buy stuff, but foot traffic is still important. Word of mouth is still important. These are hyper local solutions that you are capable of doing. In some places, there's even free days to go to any of the places that would otherwise cost money. Look for those. Go. Take advantage. And if you can, take a little money to get the stuff that supports those places. Memberships, great. Admission, great. But they also enjoy if you are able to pick up a food or a souvenir or whatever. But be alert. Some of these places are operated by multinational corporations where the place itself may be hyperlocal, but all of the vending options within are some conglomerate that doesn't care about anybody except for pushing plastic and all of that good stuff. And that stuff's going to be expensive again. Remember, we got the whole tariff situation. So think about that when you go out, but figure out a way that you can contribute, even if it's just your presence, because that might not seem like much, but your presence in so many different ways matters more than you know. And you get to use your presence however you like. I'm hoping, obviously, that you're going to use it to be a good steward of your humanity and have a little fun and influence others to have a little fun and be good stewards of their humanity. But, you do you. You know what you're all about. I personally find that the library is one of the places that I'm most worried about us losing. It was a great sanctuary for me as a kid. It's been a great resource for me as a non-kid. It has helped so many people that I know that were in one crisis or another to find a way forward, or just a place to rest for a second. They supply so much more than just books. They supply so much more than the ability to answer a question, but they have both of those things. But they also have access to the outside world through the internet. They have all of the periodicals that you could possibly imagine. I mean, it depends on the place, right? But even a library that has limited resources for holding things within their walls have other ways of letting you have access to information that you wouldn't get otherwise. Think about the fact that we are looking at groomed feeds of information. Even our biggest news corporations are owned by people who have a secondary interest has nothing to do with us, and a primary interest that has nothing to do with even our world. Because it's all about putting money in their pocket and controlling the groups that they want to control. So maybe look for sources that aren't those sources. Maybe look and see what are the papers saying in other places. Again, not all libraries have these things, but you can at least ask what they have available, and some of them you can sit at their computer and use their special access to read these things in other places. I want you to notice something when you're doing this, if you can, because sometimes it's not available or obvious. If you're doing searches and you're not seeing the results that you used to see or you're expecting to see, there's information that's missing, take note of it. You don't have to tell anybody. I mean, you can, but take note of it. Note it for yourself. Like maybe literally write it down if you don't have the kind of memory that locks onto that kind of stuff, and keep track, because it's good to notice the trends of how our information may be transforming or disappearing or becoming less reliable and available to us. And that's one of the things that a library is really good for, is they know where all the information is and they know how to keep track of it and how to give it back to us. And we can take our side of the responsibility and notice what's happening with that information. But did you know that they have more than any of the things I just said there? CDs, DVDs, some have tools, some have the ability to watch shows streaming, some have the ability to check out books from a completely different municipality. Actually, a lot of them have this. They have the community resources that you may need for other things, like a meeting. Maybe you want to get together with some people in your community and figure out how you can combine forces for the various efforts all of you are making and make a bigger impact. Just go find a conference room in a library and you have a free place to meet where you can have these discussions in private and securely and comfortably and do what you need to do, right? Yeah, that sounds like a good time to me, actually. So what's another thing we can do? Do you know that people used to hang out in their front lawns, on their front yards, on their porches, and just say hi to people randomly? I know it still happens in some neighborhoods, but most places this doesn't happen anymore. People are like, "Oh no, that neighbor says hi to me," or they say, "Oh, those people are outside. That's weird," and that to me is weird, but whatever. I grew up in a more feral time, as my bedhead shows here. But here's what I want to say that we could be doing that might seem a little weird, might seem a little hard, but I think would be fun, but also pull us together as communities. Find something that your community can do together. Is it a walk for your neighborhood? Maybe you don't like walking. Is it sitting in the front yard and knitting together? You can do that. Is it inviting everyone to have a grill out or picnic on the same weekend so that you can all see each other? That's not a bad idea. It's a great idea. You can do that too. Is it a little parade up and down your street? You actually can do that. You can get a permit to close off either end, and you can have yourselves a little block party. And that block party can have all kinds of stuff at it. You can sell things that you guys have made. You can have little yard sales. Yeah, a yard sale group. That's another good way to get a whole community together and have everybody out there and waving at each other and all that good stuff. You know, it's another good thing? Hanging out and doing art or crafts together. Having some fun together. Think of some stuff that you're like, it would be fun, even if there's people in your block that you don't like. Even if. Now, if you don't like them because they are a danger, that's actually not a sign that you shouldn't do this. It's a sign that as a neighborhood, you can come together and keep each other safe from the people who aren't safe in your neighborhood without being like illegally or cruelly exclusive. But you can definitely like, oh, I know that guy's on an SO list. And I know I'm assuming a gender on an SO list, but statistically, so I know, controversial. Any of these are things that you guys can do. Any of them. We can do all of these things. Did I say guys? I did say guys. Just pick something. Any of this stuff. Hyper local. Limit your meat. Find things to do within your community. Help your community find things to do. Use your libraries. Use your museums. Use your parks. Go to the national parks. Go en masse. Do cleanup efforts. Cleanup efforts are incredible. You are completely capable of making a change, even if you feel like it's microscopic. It matters. It counts. I don't know if you guys know the story about the starfish, but I'll tell you about it next time, just in case you haven't heard it. And we're also going to talk about decentering ourselves to find our center. Does that sound very woo-woo to you? I'm going to make it so practical you aren't going to believe it. So thank you for joining me here at Batmonkey Network, where it's progress over protocol all the time.